Okay, you can begin.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. Now moving forward from chapter 6, our presentation is focused on chapter 7, which is interacting in teams and groups. Next slide, please. Chapter 7 explores the characteristics of groups. No, the previous slide. Right, thank you. Chapter 7 explores the characteristics of groups, the way groups develop, and the dynamics among group members in order to emphasize how leadership in groups are process-oriented. In addition, this chapter presents concept of teamwork and collaboration in group work and application of the relational leadership model. To guide you through this topic, we have divided this presentation into three key sections. Firstly, I will start the presentation by covering the introduction to groups and group development. Next, Maya will dive into the second section, which is group dynamics and the decision-making processes. And lastly, Anastasia Daly will discuss teamwork, conflict resolutions, and leadership implications. Now we will explore how groups form, develop, and function. We'll discuss the characteristics of groups, how they evolve over time, and the role leadership plays in guiding them. Understanding these concepts will help us work more effectively in groups and avoid common challenges. Next slide, please. What is a group? Firstly, can someone tell me their view or explain what they think a group is? I will leave the floor open for some answers on the mic or in the chat. Anyone? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Introduction to groups. According to the textbook, it is stated that not all collection of people qualify as groups. A group is defined as 3 or more people interacting and communicating over time to reach a common goal. This also distinguishes groups from casual gatherings where there is no ongoing communication or shared purpose. For example, a crowd of people waiting for a bus is not considered a group. However, in contrast, a student club planning an event is considered a group because its members interact frequently and collaborate towards a shared common goal. Some may ask, why are groups important? Before I continue this, can someone again open the mic or type in the chat why they think groups are important?
Um, I would just say to have purpose and understanding the task at hand, so everyone on the
Okay,
same page.
all right, that's a nice answer. Groups are also important in today's world because many organizations tend to rely on teams to solve complex problems, encourage innovation, and achieve goals. Next slide. Key dimensions of groups. It has been very noticeable that groups vary based on 3 major dimensions: purpose, structure, and time. These dimensions affect how the group operates and the leadership style needed. Number 1, purpose. This is where groups exist for a reason. This ranges from friendship support groups to highly focused task groups to groups like a staff that delivers a service or a product over time. The architectural maxim that form follows functions apply to groups as well. The purpose of a group should lead to the structures and processes needed to help the people in the group accomplish their purpose. An example of where a group has a purpose could be a volunteering group with the purpose of raising funds for charity. Number 2, structure. Structure relates to the mechanisms for how the people in the group relate to each other. Some groups are highly structured with hierarchical roles or positions, like a student government, while others remain undefined. And 3, time. This is where groups can either be short-term or long-term. For example, a short-term group could be like a task force or an example of a long-term group is like an ongoing committee. Another example of a short-term group could be a class project team that exists only for a semester, while a long-term group can be a fraternity or sorority that may last for years. Overall, each group's purpose, structure, and time influences how it functions and what leadership style approach is best. Next slide. Stages of group development. Groups don't just start functioning perfectly. They go through different stages of development. In 1965, Bruce Stuckman identified 5 stages of group development. They are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Each stage presents its unique challenges and requires different leadership strategies. Additionally, understanding these stages helps leaders and members guide groups effectively through challenges. First stage, forming. Forming is the group's initial stage of coming together, which includes tasks as members recruit and affiliate with each other. This also includes what information people need, when will the group meet, how the group communicate, and what protocol needs to be put in place for the group's response on time. What type of commitment means it also includes the purposes and the missions of the groups, the agreements needed to make the group function, and the forming stage of development is when team building initially occurs and trust is established. Successful strategies of this forming stage include building open, trusting relationships that value inclusion. An example of a group in the forming stage is a newly formed study group where students exchange contact information but aren't yet sure how to divide tasks. A strong foundation in the forming stage leads to smoother progress in later stages. Stage 2, storming. Storming is the stage in groups where the group starts to get in gear and differences of opinion begins to emerge. If the group is not clear about its purpose and goals, or if the group cannot agree on shared goals, then it may collapse at this stage. Some characteristics of this stage is where disagreements arise over leadership, responsibilities, or goals, and personality clashes may become apparent. Challenges in this stage include stalling of progress or breaking up of the group. Key takeaway. Conflict is natural but must be managed constructively to keep the group moving forward. Stage 3, norming. Norming follows after storming. Once the group resolves key differences, it establishes a pattern of how the work gets done. The group sets up formal or informal procedures for which things come to the whole group, which reports are needed, who is involved in what, and how people interact. At this stage, individuals in the group deal with both intimacy and identity. Members of the group begin to understand the group's culture. For example, do meetings always start 10 minutes late so people can visit each other for a few minutes? Or do members understand whether they should volunteer for new projects or wait to be invited? The group practices that evolve in the norming stage are often more obvious to outsiders than to those in the group. These practices and characteristics might also describe the personality of the group. Stage 4, performing. Performing is the fourth stage of group development. Built on the strong foundation of the previous 3 stages, the group now cycles into a mature stage of equilibrium by getting its work done. In this stage, members work smoothly, handling challenges with minimal conflict. It also includes high levels of trust, efficiency, and engagement. Some challenges groups may face in this stage is the risk of complacency or burnout. Next slide, please. Stage 5, adjourning. The fifth stage, adjourning, is the final stage of group development. Introduced in 1977 by Bruce Tuckman and Jensen, They amended the stage model to accommodate the closure stages that groups experience. This is a difficult stage for groups to enter because it marks a period of closure and finality. Some members experience a sense of loss at this stage. The adjourning stage should include a celebration and recognition of the group's accomplishments, as well as a reflection on the lessons learned about what was effective and what was ineffective. Groups that have experienced longevity also can face the adjourning stage, even if their mission or purpose becomes irrelevant. Even so, it is important for the group to go through the adjourning stage as a lesson or a learning experience, as time to acknowledge the members' contribution also. Additionally, groups that do not engage in a continual revisiting of the cycle to stay active and vital may find themselves moving towards this final stage of group development. An example of a group in the adjourning stage could be a graduating class saying goodbye after years of working together. Next slide, please. Relational leadership and stages of group development. When the group is forming, the relational leadership philosophy would encourage participants to be inclusive and empowering. They will also encourage them to make sure all the shareholders and stakeholders are involved, seek diverse members to bring talent to the group, model the process of inclusion and share leadership, and identify common purposes and targets of change. In the storming stage, leaders have to create a climate in which each person matters and build commitment to the group as a community of practice. They have to be ethical, open, and patient to give different viewpoints a full hearing. They also have to be aware when they may be biased or blocking the full participation of another. Additionally, the leader has to handle conflict directly and openly, encouraging participants to identify their biases. And lastly, they have to revisit the purpose of the group and targets of change. Thirdly, when norming, leaders are encouraged to be fair with processes, practice collaboration, keep new members welcome, informed, and involved, and clarify an individual's responsibility and expectations of the group. During the performing stage, leaders must celebrate accomplishments and find renewal in relationships, empower members to learn new skills and share roles in new ways to stay fresh, and also revisit purposes and rebuild commitment. Next slide, please. However, in the relational leadership philosophy or leadership role in the adjourning stage is to recognize contributions and celebrate accomplishments and encourage reflection on lessons learned. Next slide. Now, to summarize, we have explored how groups are structured, how they develop, and the relational leadership required at each stage. Understanding these principles help us navigate in groups effectively. Key takeaways: groups have distinctive purpose, structures, and timeframes. The 5 stages of group development help us understand group progress, and relational leadership plays a crucial role in guiding groups through challenges. If I will now pass you on to Maya All for section 2 of this presentation. Maya, are you there?
I am waiting on you.
Hello.
Right, we're hearing you now.
Right. Yes, I had to get bumped out from the meet. All right. So hello everyone. Today we'll be exploring the dynamics of how groups functions and make decisions. We'll discuss rules within a group, the influence of norms and climate, and the different ways groups make decisions. Understanding these concepts will help us work more effectively in teams and avoid common pitfalls. What is group dynamics? Group dynamics refers to the interactions and processes that shape a group's effectiveness. This includes communication styles, conflict resolution, leadership, and participation levels. Think of a group project. What determines whether it runs smoothly or becomes chaotic? That's group dynamics in action. Understanding group dynamics helps group work efficiently and avoid dysfunction. There are three key factors that influence group dynamics. One, roles. Who does what in the group? Number two, norms. The unwritten rules guiding behavior. Three, climate. The emotional atmosphere within the team. One, group rules. Every group member plays a role. Some roles focus on tasks, while others focus on maintaining relationships. Both are essential for a group's success. Task rules. This helps the group accomplish its goals. For example, someone who ensures meetings stay on track. Group building rules. This focuses on relationships. For example, someone who encourages quieter members to speak up. Dysfunctional rules. This can harm the group. For example, a blocker. This is someone who opposes everything without reason. Effective groups balance tasks and relationship rules while minimizing dysfunction. Norms Norms are the unwritten rules that guide how a group operates. Some norms are explicit, like raising your hand in class, while others develop over time, like always starting meetings 10 minutes late. Norms influence group climate, which is like group's personality. A positive climate encourages collaboration, while negative climate leads to disengagement. Establishing strong positive norms lead to a healthier group dynamic. Moving on to the next slide. How do group make decisions? How do group decide what actions to take? Should the leader decide? Should the group vote? Or should the decision be made by an expert? The method used greatly impacts group engagement and its effectiveness. The decision-making process also affects groups' motivation and success. There are five common decision-making methods. Each has advantages and disadvantages. 1. Discussion by authority without decision by authority without discussion. A leader decides without consulting the group. For example, a coach deciding a team's lineup. Pros. This is fast and efficient. Cons. Members may feel excluded. Number two, decision by experts. This is where the most knowledgeable member decides. For example, a doctor determining a treatment plan. Pros, uses expertise. Cons, this excludes group input. Number three, average members' opinions. The group finds a middle ground. For example, a club choosing an event date that works for most people. Pros, this is democratic. While cons, it may lack a strong leadership. 4. Decision by authority after discussion. This is where the leader listens to input before deciding. For example, a manager gathering feedback before setting work policies. Pros: it balances efficiency and inclusivity. Cons: can still feel top down. 5. Majority control or voting. The group votes and the majority wins. For example, a committee voting on a project proposal. Pros: it is fast and fair. Cons: minority opinions may feel ignored. The best method depends on the situation. Some decisions require expertise while others benefit from group participation. Next slide, please. Consensus decision making. Consensus is often the best method because it ensures that all members support the final decision. Even if they don't fully agree, it doesn't mean everyone gets their way, but it does mean no one feels ignored. Steps to building consensus. Number 1, clearly define the issue. Number 2, focus on common ground. Number 3, allow time for discussion. And finally, 4, avoid forcing a vote too quickly. For example, a student government selecting a new club policy by ensuring all votes are heard before making a decision. Consensus leads to better team cohesion but requires patience. Let's move to the next slide. Why decision making fails. Even with a good decision making process, things can still go wrong. Here are some common pitfalls. Time pressure. Rushing decisions leads to mistakes. Lack of involvement. If people feel excluded, they disengage. Groupthink. Members agree just to avoid conflict, leading to bad decisions. Conflict management. Disagreements become personal, derailing progress. Good decision making requires time, participation, and conflict resolution skills. Next slide. Leadership and decision making. Great leaders don't just make decisions, they guide the process. Before making a decision, a leader should ask these 5 questions. Does this decision support our goals? Are all voices included? Will the decision empower or exclude members? Is this ethical or fair? Should we take more time to discuss? Strong leadership ensures fair and effective decision making. So, in conclusion, here are some main points we covered today. Group dynamics influence how team function. Understanding roles, norms, and climate helps groups work effectively. Different decision-making methods impact participation and success. Consensus is ideal but requires effort and patience, and strong leadership ensures fair and inclusive decision-making. Now I would like to pass to Anastasia Daisley.
Okay. Um, Now we're moving on to team conflict resolution and leadership implication. Um, as just stated before from Jamira, a group is a collection of individuals or objects that are considered together because of shared characteristics or common purpose. However, a team is not necessarily a group. A team is an enthusiastic, I might say the word wrong, my bad, set of competent people
who have clearly defined roles associated in a common activity, working cohesively in trusting relationships, and exercising personal discipline and making individual sacrifices for the good of the team. Um, by chance, does anybody know an example of a team? It could be, you know, nobody has ever been part of a team before. Okay, I guess not. Well, an example of a team could be a football team, a project group, a research team, a business management team, or a firefighting team. Okay. Some may think groups functions as teams. However, they have differences. Here are some key differences between working in a group and working in teams. Number one, teams. They work collective. Work is key. Well, versus groups, which is individual work is primarily. Number two, members collaborate closely, while in groups, members share information but work individually. Number three, they share responsibilities, but however, in groups, they take personal accountability. Number four, success is measured as a team, and however, success is measured individually. Okay. Smart goals for effective teams. For a team to be effective, it needs clear goals. The SMART framework helps teams set specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals. Number one, specific. The goal must be clear to everyone. Number two, measurable. It must be quantifiable. Number three, attainable. The goal must be realistic and possible to achieve. Number four, relevant. The goal is in alignment with the direction of the organization and its overall strategy. Number five, time bound. There is a set time frame by which the goal will be achieved. Example, within a semester or within a year. Understanding conflict in groups. Okay. Different working styles can cause conflicts in groups, unclear responsibilities, competition for resources, and lack of direction. Different working styles can cause conflicts in several ways. These differences can lead to misunderstanding, frustration, or tension if not addressed effectively. Some things include communication differences, decision making disagreements, pace of work, focus on tasks versus people, complicate conflict resolution styles, and flexibility versus structure. How these differences lead to conflict? They lead to conflict due to misunderstandings, as I said, frustration, power struggles, and lack of team cohesion. Okay. Oh, sorry. Unclear responsibilities. Unclear responsibilities can cause conflicts in several ways, such as overlapping rules. When rules unclear, defined, team members may end up working on the same task, leading to confusion or inefficiency. Missed deadlines. If responsibilities aren't clear, tasks may be left incomplete or neglected, resulting in missed deadlines. Accountability issues. Without defined responsibilities, it's difficult to hold individuals accountable. Confusion and disorganization. It in these roles can lead to disorganization where tasks aren't completed on time or to the expected standard. Power struggles where responsibilities aren't clear. Team members might um, fight for a control certain tasks or decisions, and unmet expectations. Team members may have different expectations of what others should be doing. Um, Next one, competition for resources. This could lead to conflict also in several ways. By resource scarcity, when resources are limited, team members or subgroups may feel that they are not getting their fair share. Unequal distribution, if resources like time, funding, or attention are distributed unevenly or perceived to be unfair, team members may feel neglected or undervalued. Strained relationships, the competition for resources can cause personal conflict, especially if team members feel that the other are hoarding resources or not collaborating in the best interest of the group. Conflict over priorities, limited resources, force the group to make tough decisions about what gets prioritized. Decreased productivity, when groups are in competition for limited resources, the focus may shift from collaboration to individual gain. Stress and pressure, competition for scarce resources increase stress levels as team members feel pressured to complete tasks with less time or fewer funds. And last but not least, lack of direction. Unclear goals. Without clear shared goals, team members may have different ideas about what the group is trying to achieve. Uncertainty about rules. When there's no clear direction, team members may not understand their individual rules or responsibilities within the group. Disagreements over approach. A lack of direction can lead to different team members or subgroups pursuing different approaches to the work based on their own interpretations of what needs to be done. Low morale and motivation. If the group lacks direction, members may feel disengaged or demotivated. Increased stress, a lack of direction can create uncertainty and anxiety as team members may feel they are wasting time or working without clear objectives. Decision making challenges, when there's no clear direction, decision making becomes more difficult and team members may argue over which direction to take. And lack of accountability. Without clear direction and defined goals, may it may become difficult to track progress and hold team members accountable. So, these four ways are some ways that, they could cause conflict in groups. Now, moving on. Conflict resolution strategies. We have three strategies: win win approach, win to lose approach, and lose lose approach. Number one, the win-win approach to conflict resolution focuses on finding a solution that benefits all parties involved, ensuring that everyone's needs and concerns are addressed. Unlike other approaches where one side wins and the other side loses, a win-win resolution seeks to create mutually beneficial outcomes where both sides feel satisfied with the result. Some characteristics in our win-win approach include collaboration, mutual respect, open communication, focuses on long-term solutions, win for all parties, empathy and understanding, and commitment to the outcome. The reason why the win-win approach is considered to be the best for conflict resolution is because it fosters positive relationships. It increases satisfaction for all parties, encourages long-term cooperation, builds trust and respect, and reduces future conflicts. Number two, a win-to-lose approach. The win-lose approach to conflict resolution is a competitive and adversarial strategy where one party aims to achieve its goals or needs at the expense of the others. In this approach, there is a clear winner who achieves their desired outcome and a loser who does not get what they want or may even have to give up something valuable. Characteristics of a win to lose approach: competitive competition, zero sum, assertiveness over cooperation, and short-term focuses. The reason why this competitive approach is a competitive approach, the win to lose approach, because it focuses on winning, is the power dynamics, and no collaborations whatsoever. It can be problematic because it leads in resentment. The loser in the win to lose scenario often feels frustrated, powerless, or resentful, which can damage relationships and hinder future collaborations. A short term gain, long term damage. While the winner may achieve their immediate goal, this approach can harm long term relationships and reduce trust within a team or group and increase tension. This approach often leads to conflict, making it harder to resolve further disagreements, as one side may hold on to the idea of winning in a future situation. Last but not least, the lose lose approach. The lose lose approach to the conflict resolution is when both parties involved in a conflict end up dissatisfied, with neither achieving their desired outcomes. In this approach, both sides give up or lose something important, and the conflict is not resolved in a way that benefits either party. Some characteristics of this include compromise without resolution, escalating conflict, avoidance of core issues, and inefficiency. Reason why this is the worst approach is because it no satisfaction in the end. It damages relationships, unsolved issues, lower moral and long-term impact. Okay. Now we move on to leadership styles in teams. There are a few leadership styles in teams, but we are only pointing out three today, which is laissez-faire, democratic, and authoritative. Or authoritative. Sorry, authoritative. Number one, laissez-faire leadership. What is laissez-faire leadership style? This laissez-faire leadership is a hands-off approach where the leader gives the team a lot of freedom to make decisions and manage their own work. The leader provides minimal direction or intervention and allows team members to operate independently. Some of the characteristics include minimal supervision, high autonomy, non-intrusive, and empowerment. With this type of leadership, it encourages creativity and innovation as team members are free to explore new ideas and methods. It can lead to low accountability or confusion if the team lacks direction or clarity about goals and rules. And it's effective in highly skilled, self motivated teams where individuals constant do not need constant supervision. Number two, democratic leadership. What is democratic leadership? This involves the leader. Involves where the leader is actively seeking input from the team members before making decisions. The leader encourages collaboration, open communication, and group participation in decision-making processes. Some of the characteristics include collaborative, shared responsibilities, encourages open communication. Um, what what is it all about? The democratic leadership style fosters a sense of ownership and engagement among team members as they are involved in decisions. It can be time consuming as gathering input from everyone takes time, and it builds trust and cohesion within the team as team members feel valued and respected. Alas, authoritative or autocratic leadership style. Authoritative leadership, sometimes refers to autocratic leadership styles, is more directive style, where the leader makes decisions un, unilaterally and expects team members to follow instructions without input. The leader has a clear vision and directs the team to achieve specific goals. Some of the characteristics involve clear direction, top down decision making, strong control, and focuses on results. In this leadership style, it can lead to high efficiency and quick decision making, especially in situations requiring fast action or clear direction. It may stifle creativity and team input as team members have little to no influence over decisions. It's, it's effective in situations where clear leadership is required, such as in crisis or when a team needs clear directions. Okay, now I'm going to give a few examples, and I would like if you all could tell me which type of leadership style you think it is. So, example one. Um, a military general gives strict orders that must be followed without question during a mission. What kind of leadership style do you all think it is? You could open your mic or type in the chat. Anybody would like to answer? Okay, well, that was our autocratic leadership style. Okay, now example two. A school principal involves teachers in decision making about curriculum changes. What kind of leadership style do you think this one is?
Is it democratic?
Correct. Okay, example three. A senior scientist gives junior researchers full freedom to experiment and find their own solution. What example of what leadership style is this? Anybody?
Is it one?
Yes, it is actually. All right. Well, that's it for the activity. And summary of leadership styles. Well, as we just spoke about, laissez-faire, hands-off leadership, democratic, participative, and authoritative. Authoritative, right? Next. In this section, we spoke about effective teamwork requires clear goals and strong collaborations. Conflict can be beneficial if managed properly, and leaderships play a crucial role in guiding teams to success. Does anyone have any more questions about that part of the presentation? If not, well, now I will move back to Jamira.
Okay, thank you. You can move on to the next slide. To summarize, groups are the building blocks of communities of practice. We function in many different kinds of groups that are at different stages of development. This chapter presented to you today involves group development models and principles of group dynamics, including aspects of decision making, conflict resolution, and team learning that inform groups' practices. It is important to note the differences between groups and teams and the intentional process of developing working groups into effective teams. Key takeaway from each presenter. Presenter 1, groups have clear structures, purpose, and timeframes that shapes how it functions. Groups progress through 5 stages of development: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning, each requiring different relational leadership approaches, and effective leaders guide groups through these stages by promoting inclusion, communication, and collaboration. Presenter 2, group dynamics and decision making. Groups rely on rules, norms, and climate to function effectively. Different decision-making process, authority-based, voting on or consensus impacts group success. And good decision-making requires fair participation, ethical leadership, and conflict resolutions. And lastly, teamwork, conflict, and resolution leaderships. Strong teams share a clear purpose, collaborate effectively, and set smart goals. Conflict is natural in groups. When managed well, it can strengthen relationships and innovation. And leadership is about balance, guiding teams towards results while fostering positive group development. Last slide. Final reflection. I would like for all of you to reflect on why this matters. Whether in schools, work, or in our personal lives, we are always part of a group. The success of these groups depends on how well members communicate, collaborate, and lead. By understanding group development, decision-making, and leadership, we can all contribute to a more effective, inclusive, and high-performing teams. That concludes our presentation, and thank you for your time.